You already know how this story goes. You're having a conversation in person.
I was talking to my partner,
my manager,
my grandfather.
You talk about something specific.
About new curtains.
A dating app.
the scarier issue with my car.
And then, the next time you go online, without ever looking it up,
Later that night, I got an ad for the app.
I hadn't searched for them. I had only just had that conversation with my friend.
The literal thing we were talking about 30 seconds ago.
you already know how this story goes because it's probably happened to you. And there's one explanation we've all thought of.
I definitely think my phone listens to me.
My phone has definitely been listening to me.
Our phones absolutely listen to us.
And there are good reasons to believe it. Maybe you've heard in the news that it is true.
This is proof, really, isn't it, that advertisers really are listening to us?
Maybe you've seen someone on the internet prove it.
I guess Facebook does listen.
Or maybe you just don't trust tech companies not to do it.
We do not use the phone's microphone to eavesdrop on you.
All of those reasons are part of why, according to a 2025 study, a majority of people across multiple countries believe that microphone eavesdropping is a likely explanation for the specificity of targeted advertising. But at the same time, we're also told it's not happening.
It is not.
That's just not true.
Facebook is not listening to your phone conversations on your phone.
I wanted to understand why so many of us have had this experience and why so many people point to the same explanation, even as the experts say that it isn't true.
It's a misunderstanding.
Creepy ads are just the tip of the iceberg.
But what is actually happening is actually even much more serious.
In this episode, I'm going to break down the best I can what we know about why we get ads for things that we've recently talked about. I'm going to look at what the news has gotten right and wrong about targeted advertising via audio surveillance. And I'm going to explain the underlying system that I think we should actually be worried about. Because what I learned is that every time we see an ad that makes us think our phones are listening, we aren't exactly wrong. We're just only seeing a tiny part of the picture.
So a lot of people are pretty freaked out about this item from Facebook where they can listen in on your conversations, basically looking for buzzwords and things that you're saying.
There are a lot of good reasons to believe that phones are listening. One is that news reports have often claimed they are.
So just beware of that the next time you're searching online or having a conversation.
According to journalist Maxwell Zeff, this local news story was the first time a major broadcaster reported the phone listening theory. The story cited one expert, a communications professor named Kelly Burns.
She just asked, can we just try a demonstration? Can we say something into your phone? And then we'll look at your Facebook feed and we'll see if anything that you said pops up on the feed.
With the Facebook Messenger app open, Kelly talked about how she wanted to go on an African safari in a Jeep. Shortly after, her Facebook feed included a post from a friend who was on an African safari. But Kelly wasn't convinced that the explanation was eavesdropping.
I did literally say in the story, I think that's really funny that happened, but, I think this is just a coincidence.
She'd been Googling African safaris earlier that day, and the post was from a friend she frequently interacted with on Facebook. But those details weren't in the story. Instead, the fact that the post came up at all became the whole story.
It really became an international story. I had media requests from around the world.
She published a blog post to set the record straight, but the story had already spread, enough that Facebook had to put out a response.
I tried to talk to different reporters who were covering this and say, this is really not a fair representation. It's like, nope, that's our story. We're going with it.
But around the same time, some companies were developing technology to do something similar. A company called Silverpush developed software that could recognize inaudible, high-pitched audio beacons playing in TV ads and in physical stores in order to serve targeted ads based on what people had seen on TV and where they'd been shopping. A year later, the New York Times reported about an ad software called Alfonso, which was running on hundreds of mobile games. The app used the game's microphone access to recognize commercial content playing on televisions to deliver more relevant ads to your mobile device. But neither Silverpush nor Alfonso were actually recognizing human conversation. They were only designed to recognize a specific kind of audio content. They were basically Shazamming ads. Years later, in 2023, news broke that a marketing company was claiming to use microphones in smart devices to target ads to consumers. The product was called Active Listening. The founders of one of the companies behind it talked a lot about it on their podcast.
Have you ever talked about something and saw an ad for it? We're the guys. That's that. Yeah. Yeah. We distribute the tech.
The story spread fast.
The American company Cox Media Group has privately admitted to developing an active listening piece of software to eavesdrop on users' conversations and then better target consumers.
But it later turned out that the companies behind Active Listening were simply making it up. The whole thing was a scam, and they were fined almost $1 million for making false claims. So over the past decade, we've had a lot of coverage that has kept the theory alive. But it's not proof. So has there ever been proof? Okay, before we answer that question, I want to show you something. 220 hours and 30 minutes. That's the amount of time I have not had to spend this month submitting removal requests to the shady companies selling my data. And that is thanks to the sponsor of this video, Incogni. Right now, they're offering 60% off for Tunnel Vision viewers at incogni.com/tunnelvision. My information and your information, it's all circling around in the hands of data brokers. The good news is that you can request that data brokers delete your information, but the bad news is that there are dozens of them. You have to do it one at a time, and you would have to keep doing it every time your information keeps popping back up. Incogni contacts data brokers on your behalf and handles the whole removal process for you. It's very satisfying to follow along and watch the number of completed removals keep going up. They've also got this new feature called Custom Removals, which lets you request the deletion of your information from any website. You just send a link and a privacy expert will handle everything else. If you want to check it out, go to incogni.com/tunnelvision or use the link below with the code tunnelvision to get 60% off a full year. You can even try it risk-free for 30 days. It's a great way to stay safe online and support the channel while you're at it. Okay, let's get back to the story.
We're going to do a test here. We're going to talk about cat food.
Every day I'm going to say the word crib.
Today I'm going to be doing a live test to see if Google is always listening on your microphone.
A lot of people have tried their own experiments, but these experiments are not especially scientific.
I guess Facebook does listen.
I think that is conclusive evidence.
So far, I've had absolutely no ads.
I really thought this was going to work. I wanted it to work.
I went looking for peer-reviewed studies, and there's really just one. A 2018 study analyzed 17,000 of the most popular Android apps and monitored the app's traffic to see what media files they were sending out. The researchers found no evidence that apps were secretly recording and sending out audio. And that's everything we know from formal research on phone listening. It is not much as far as proof that this isn't happening. There are also technical reasons and legal reasons why experts say platforms almost certainly couldn't use audio to inform what kinds of ads they show you. And the people behind those major platforms say that it isn't true.
If you don't listen on your microphone, doing so would be super problematic for a lot of different reasons.
But altogether, it doesn't tend to convince us.
I don't believe you. I don't know how this happens repeatedly.
I don't know how to convince you.
Okay, does it happen to you? No.
So the truth is that we don't have proof that our phones aren't listening. There's no smoking gun that will completely dispel this feeling for people. All we do have is this other story. All of the things that we do on the internet and many of the things that we do off of it leave a digital trace that advertisers can buy. Our browsing history, purchases, app activity, and physical location. These data points can follow us around via trackers on phones and browsers and are used to build a profile about us. If you want to peek into how this works, you can go to Google's My Ad Center or Meta's Account Center to see a list of the brands targeting you and the categories they're putting you in to do it. And that's just the stuff they tell us they know about us. If you see an ad for something that you were just talking about, there's almost certainly a data trail, a search, a purchase, an activity, or a location that leads back to you. But what can really make this process feel like eavesdropping is the fact that you don't just get ads based on your data trail, but those of other people too. other people on the same Wi-Fi, physically near you, or even just people with similar interests and behaviors. Their searches, purchases, activity, and location can influence the ads that you get too. So while it may feel like you're getting an advertisement because of a conversation you just had, it could actually be because of a data trail that you had nothing to do with and don't know anything about.
It's almost difficult to comprehend, right, how powerful these mechanisms are. Well, the fact is they are listening to you. They're just not listening to you with ears. They have even much more efficient ways to listen to you than actually listening to your conversations. They don't care about your conversations.
Rodney Jones is a professor who wrote a paper about why beliefs about phone listening persist, despite denials from tech executives, fact checks from journalists, and explanations from security experts.
I mean, none of us can say that it's actually not true, which is one of the key kind of ingredients to a good conspiracy theory.
We can call this a conspiracy theory, but like most conspiracy theories kind of require buying into this really big and complicated worldview. You have to sort of tumble down a rabbit hole. And this one just kind of requires you to believe your eyes. Like the conspiratorial answer is the simpler one.
Exactly. I mean, it's ironic, isn't it? It's Occam's razor that the conspiratorial answer is actually the simplest explanation.
Not only is it the simplest explanation for experiencing the phenomenon, it also reflects a legitimate lack of trust in tech companies' practices around privacy and surveillance.
You know, the people who believe this are not stupid. The people who believe this are not crazy, right? This is an absolutely reasonable belief.
At the very beginning of making this video, I asked viewers for their experiences with ads that made them feel like their phones were listening.
Hi.
Hello.
Hey, Christophe.
And I wanted to call them back to see if this explanation was convincing to them. Is there any digital trace you can think of? You guys connect to the same Wi-Fi, the same IP address. One of those friends could have walked by the burger restaurant. Does that friend have the app? Did the friend look it up?
Yeah. For sure, it seems like a plausible answer.
It feels invasive.
If that is how it works, that is a very complex puzzle.
And while some people seemed convinced, not everyone did.
I don't know, based on my experience, it seems almost impossible that they are not listening in some way.
So it seems like the standard story we have doesn't always work for convincing people. But as I kept talking to people, I kept hearing different versions of the same idea.
The quality and the volume of data that we already have access to, which to me is kind of almost scarier.
And the truth is actually more scary in a lot of ways.
The truth is actually more scary. One final expert I spoke to helped me understand what that scarier truth actually is.
Before you see a targeted ad, there's this milliseconds long auction that determines the ad you see.
Lena Cohen works at the Electronic Frontier Foundation and writes about the underlying privacy risks of the targeted advertising industry. To understand those risks, you have to understand what happens in the split second before you see an ad.
Hundreds, if not thousands of companies are bidding on that ad space, but they're not just bidding on ad space, they're bidding on you.
It goes something like this. As soon as someone loads a web page or app with an available ad slot, that publisher sends out information about what you're reading or watching or doing to an ad exchange. There are many ad exchanges on the internet, but Google is by far the largest one. The ad exchange compiles other information about you and packages it into a bid request, like this. You can see the web page this person is looking at, their device details, IP address, GPS coordinates, and ID codes identifying this specific person and their inferred interests. These codes, for example, represent Southeast England, real estate listings, residential sales, new homes and custom homes, and real estate agencies. So we know that we could probably show this person ads for new homes in Southeast England. The more specific personal data in a bid request, the higher bids it can get. Then the ad exchange broadcasts that information to thousands of companies who represent potential advertisers.
They use all of that personal information to decide on whether or not to bid for your attention.
And the highest bidder gets the spot. This whole process is over in milliseconds. It's called real-time bidding, and it happens every single time you load an ad on an app or website, about 750 times a day for the average person in the US.
Like, even that explanation really simplifies it. I'll also send, let me just, send you this.
Oh my God.
Yeah, there are so many different types of ad tech companies.
Wow.
Hundreds or thousands of companies receiving a little piece of information about what you're doing. They could stitch together all of that information into a really comprehensive profile, not just of what you were doing online that day, but who you are as a person.
A bid request might not literally have someone's name on it, but it can easily be connected to real people and reveal a lot about them. This location information reveals our movement throughout the day, and these interest codes can describe sensitive personal information. Google has specific real-time bidding codes for your ethnicity, politics, religion, sexuality, and a ton of health conditions that can be broadcast about you every time you load an ad. Those sensitive details can wind up in many hands, because even though only one ad buyer wins the auction, all of them get the data. They can view it, store it, or pass it on to other parties, even if they never place a bid on it at all, and even if they aren't actually an advertiser.
Any company posing as an ad buyer can access a massive stream of personal information about the billions of people seeing targeted ads per day just by participating in these auctions.
In 2017, researchers posed as advertisers in a real-time bidding network. With a $1,000 budget, they were able to track the location of individuals using apps served by that advertising network, and by looking at which apps they were using, infer their religion and sexuality. And that whole process isn't hypothetical.
That is something that data brokers have been documented doing, participating in real-time bidding auctions for the purpose of collecting data about people that they go on to sell, not participating in these auctions in order to advertise to people.
One data broker named MobileWalla used data from real-time bidding auctions to track union organizers and Black Lives Matter protesters, and made audience lists of pregnant women, Hispanic churchgoers, and members of the LGBTQ community to help its clients target ads. And once those lists have been created, they can be weaponized for all kinds of purposes. In 2026, U.S. Customs and Border Protection admitted to purchasing phone location data acquired via the real-time bidding process, allowing it to see specific individuals' location history without ever issuing a warrant.
Creepy ads are just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to the harms of this system. The advertising industry has basically built this surveillance machine that can be co-opted by anyone who pays.
So the next time you see a creepy ad and you want to know, why am I seeing this? It is to the very best of our knowledge, not because your phone heard you talking about it. That's according not just to the companies that deny it, but to the actual experts who study it. We still can't say it with 100% certainty. But the reality, as far as all of these studies and evidence and expert opinions go, is that you aren't being listened to. You're being tracked. There are settings you can change that will make a difference. In your phone settings, don't allow apps to track your activity across other apps, and disable personalized ads. You can disable them in Google's My Ad Center too. In your meta ad preferences, don't allow ads based on your activity with other businesses, and don't allow Meta to show you ads in other apps. That should make some difference, but it won't change the underlying system. And even though creepy ads are the most obvious outcome of that system, all the outcomes we don't notice might be more impactful.
Things happen in our lives. Oh, we don't get that loan approved. Or suddenly some application fails, or all sorts of decisions are made about us based on this kind of data. It doesn't really matter how they're collecting this information. What people really need to be sensitized about is the consequence of that.
And right now, one of the most jarring consequences of that data collection is how online ads have become a backdoor into a goldmine of information about people's activities and whereabouts. It's a full-blown surveillance system that was originally designed to sell us stuff, but can be used for so much more, in ways that can have profound consequences on people's lives. This system, as it works right now, actually is something worth worrying about. It's time we start talking about the right reasons why. Hey, thank you so much for watching. This was a really fun story to work on. If you want to see more stories like this one and get a sneak peek at what I'm working on next, you should join me over at newpress.com. Newpress is a platform that I launched with other creators like Johnny Harris and Max Fisher to bring you closer to our reporting and help support our work. You'll be able to crowdsource story ideas and see some of the tools that I use when I'm making these stories, and see episodes of Tunnel Vision like this one early and ad-free before they publish anywhere else. If you're ready to join me, head over to newpress.com. I'll see you there.